So you want to know about the history of Great Britain? Well, let me just give you a quick summary. The first humans arrived in Great Britain around 800,000 years ago, but we were never quite sure if they actually came from Britain or they just stopped by on their way to somewhere else. What we do know is that between 4000 BC and 1000 BC, various groups of people arrived in Great Britain from what is today Germany and Denmark. These people brought with them new skills like metalworking and the wheel. This period is known as the Bronze Age, followed by the Iron Age. During the Iron Age, the Celts began to arrive in Great Britain from Europe. They spoke a language that we today call Celtic, and they are the ones who gave the island its name, Britain, which comes from the Latin word Brit, which means painted people, probably in reference to their blue war paint. The Celts were then followed by the Romans. In 55 BC, Julius Caesar invaded Britain because he wanted to assert Roman dominance in all of Europe. His invasions were not very successful, and so for the next 150 years, the Romans didn't really bother with Britain. In 43 AD, the Roman Emperor Claudius decided to try his luck at conquering Britain, and this time, it worked. By the end of the 1st century AD, the Romans had pushed as far north as Hadrian's Wall near the Scottish border. The Romans would stay in Britain for the next 300 years, bringing with them roads, towns, and plenty of Latin. In the year for 10 AD, the Romans would leave Britain. Why, you ask? Well, the reasons are complex, but the short version is that the Roman Empire was collapsing all over the place, and there was no one left to defend Britain, so they all went home. This period after the departure of the Romans is known as the Anglo-Saxon period, because during this time various Germanic tribes, known as the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, invaded and settled in Britain. These people spoke a language that we today call Old English. The Anglo-Saxons would go on to establish 7 kingdoms along with their capital cities. In 866 AD, the Danish began to arrive in Britain. These people were not keen on settling down, so they would often pillage the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. During this time, the Vikings also began to arrive in Britain. They, too, were not keen on settling down and would often pillage the English. It got so bad that King Alfred the Great of Wessex had to flee to the marshes of what is today Somerset. There, he built a fortress, and from there he launched attacks against the Danes. Eventually, the Danes would settle down and convert to Christianity. The Vikings, however, never really settled down, and they would be pushed back each time they tried. In 1066 AD, the English king died and a French duke by the name of William conquered England. He would go on to build castles across the country. These castles were built in a style that we today call Norman, and they were designed to impress and intimidate the locals. A few decades later, King John of England signed the Magna Carta. In 1215, this document is important because it limited the power of the king and established the idea that everyone, even the king, was subject to the law. In the 16th century, England became Protestant, while Scotland and Ireland stayed Catholic. This caused some tension, especially in Ireland, where the English began to impose harsh rule. This tension would eventually lead to the Irish Rebellion of 1916, which resulted in the creation of the Irish Free State. In the 17th century, England became a major player in international trade, which led to great wealth for the country and the start of the Industrial Revolution. But this wealth did not come without exploitation. England used its colonies to acquire raw materials and to sell manufactured goods. In the 20th century, England became involved in both world wars. After the Second World War, England's empire began to collapse as many of its colonies became independent. Today, England is part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. I hope that helped. If you want more, check out my channel.